Starting off so clean, so smooth. Welcome everyone to another edition of Mongols, brought to you by the Beautiful Game Network. I'm Kevin. With me is Josh. Got a little trigger happy with the intro there, Josh. I panicked. I hit the button, didn't go immediately. Hit it again.
Then, automatically stopped it as soon as it went.
Yep.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
How are you doing, Josh? How was your weekend?
Good. I was actually all week. I was in Seattle for a business trip. So Liz and I flew to Seattle, and she worked from the hotel, and I went into the office because we have a branch in Seattle. And yeah, it was cool. First time actually ever going to Seattle. So went down to like Pike's Place area where the dock is and all that stuff, the piers or whatever it's called over there. Went to some breweries and saw the Golden Pig thing, Piggy Bank. I don't know. Seattle's weird.
What's the Golden Pig?
Like, so you know where they throw the fish, like the whole the market where they throw fish.
Oh, okay,
yeah. That's Pike's Place. Like that's that area.
Okay.
And like in front of that area, they have like a statue of a pig, and it's like a little piggy bank. But it's a thing there. I don't know. There's like hoof prints all over the ground, like where they had like put them into the ground to make it look like the pig walked around. Like, I don't know. I don't understand the pig. I didn't ask about the pig. I just walked by it, saw people taking pictures with the pig, and yeah, it's like, all right, that must be a thing.
Was it appropriately gray and cold and rainy?
It was actually kind of nice. They before we went, one of the guys I work with informed us that it was they had the highest recorded temperature for that date that they've ever had, and it was like 80. It wasn't like, it's like, oh man, it's really hot here. It's more like, hey, it's not bad for October. So yeah, it was interesting. It was good. Yeah. I didn't really get to explore much though. It was pretty much just like after work activities, like happy hours and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's the drawback for going for work duties and everything. But
yeah, how was yours?
It's pretty good. Pretty relaxed. Knoxville. This is like we get 3 weeks of great fall weather, and then it just becomes winter. So lately it's just been perfect. 40 degrees in the morning, but then like 71 in the afternoon with no humidity. So just trying to enjoy it while we can. Getting out to see some early fall colors. What's the trees like up in Pittsburgh right now?
Yeah, they're changing. Yeah, like we landed on Friday and like drove home, and the trees are definitely like starting to look like fall.
I hesitate to even ask because like I can hear in my own internal like producer monologue head of like, this is a boring topic, Kevin, get off of this. But I just want to ask, what was the tree like? The trees like in Seattle?
I mean, honestly, I was downtown Seattle, so right. What trees? No, I mean the ones we could see, they looked like they were pretty much like brown. Like it was already past that, I think, or right. Like yeah, but. Yeah, I was literally downtown, center of downtown, so there was like nothing. Like I didn't go to a park or anything like that.
Well, let's get off tree topic and let's get on to rivers. No, so Mike put up the poll last week. I don't know how we got on it, but we were talking about what's the best river if you're ranking the Pittsburgh rivers. Which takes the top spot. 50% of the people said the Allegheny, which I feel is a little blasphemous given the show, given where the club plays, and everything. So that felt weird. The Ohio came in with the lowest. It's only like 10% of the ratings. But
I mean, Pittsburghers saying anything positive about anything named Ohio is just blasphemous to begin with. Yeah. I unfortunately did not get a chance to listen to the podcast yet that I was not on. My bad. But I mean, it kind of makes sense why Allegheny won. I mean, the Mon is kind of like a muddy mess of a river. If anytime you see like after a rainfall or anything like that, a top down of the city, it always looks like the Mon is just nothing but like mud, and then you see the Allegheny, it looks nice and clean, and then it goes into the Ohio. It's like a mix of the two.
Yeah. Well, let's get on to the game. So the Hounds traveled to Sacramento, got a 1-1 draw with a goal from Canardo Forbes and then a red card for Ordonez in stoppage time in the second half. And then, all of that said, okay, so we can get into the game and talk a little bit about the game, but also just kind of painting the context a little bit here. I mean, this continues. We haven't won a game in like almost a month. Yet we have one game left. Yet we're still within a shot of getting a home playoff game
somehow,
which is pretty amazing. But before we get to that, Josh, you mentioned that you watched the game at a watch party. How was the watch party, and what are your thoughts around how this game played out?
Yeah, it was cool. It was nice to see the watch, or have a reason to go to Bulldog Pub. We hadn't had a proper watch party in a while, so that was kind of nice. A good amount of people showed up. Jesse, the owner, showed up, which is great because he actually had broken his leg for a while ago, and he had been out, like just not at the bar at all for a couple months, I think. So he's just now getting back on his feet, able to walk around. Still has a noticeable limp going on as his leg is still healing, but doesn't have crutches or anything like that. And it was cool to get to see him hang out. So that part was great. The game itself, I mean, this is 5 games in a row now with no wins. A couple of draws put in there. Yeah, so it's a situation where you just like was do or die. It felt like going into it, because if we would have won and Birmingham would have lost or drawn, we would be in 4th place right now.
Yeah,
we did get a little bit lucky because Birmingham did lose. So now it's a situation where, did they draw? I can't remember. Yeah, they lost. So it is a situation where if we, depending on what Birmingham does next week, depends on what happens for us. But we'll get more into that when we look at the table later on. The game itself, though, the first half just kind of felt like we could be the better team. Like I felt like, oh, okay, we're kind of on the front foot here. Yeah. But I didn't feel confident we're going to score. I think Cicerone had a good opportunity in the first half. I can't remember if Mertz's opportunity was in the first half. No, it was in the second half where he was pretty much one-on-one with the keeper and kind of just whiffed it. But it didn't feel great. And the fact that they scored first was also kind of took the wind out of our sails. I feel like, at least as fans, like seeing the other team score first, you're like, well, this isn't a good sign. We're having issues getting 1 goal, so like we might possibly squeak out a draw, but it'll be like a miracle, but we did.
Quick response by Kenny, right? I mean, that's something.
Yeah, it was good. Like it was nice to see the quick response, and I feel like that was one of the situations where I don't know if we would have gotten a goal if we didn't immediately get a response like that. Like I feel like if we would have given the guys time to kind of mope a little bit more with the going down, they could have gotten more in their heads and had a bigger issue.
Yeah. I want to kind of rewind and start from the beginning, and then kind of depending on how we're feeling, either quickly or slowly work through this game. You mentioned at the beginning how the game kind of started and petered, and I don't know. I thought in the first half we did a pretty good job of bending and not breaking. Mm-hmm. It felt like San Antonio had a more control of the game, but it almost felt a little vintage Hounds in that I thought we controlled their chances pretty well. I mean, I think they threatened around our 18, but we never really gave them a clear chance. And I thought that was kind of something that you're used to seeing us kind of do. And then with the pace of Dequa, we were creating counter-attacking chances and everything like that. So I thought that was kind of that. But then plus I kind of want to get your thoughts on I don't know. It's the non-headline of the starting lineup being, it's pretty much as expected, at least for me. No surprises. The only surprise being that I think it seems like Lilly now is continuing with a back four. He's still kind of squeezing in 3 or 4 central defenders in that back four. So I think earlier in the season it was kind of 3 center backs with 2 wing backs. It almost feels like the same personnel's on, but to me now it's okay. We've transitioned to 4 defenders, and then we have our midfielders and our attackers. So I don't know. Were you like? What are your thoughts on? I mean, I would be shocked if we see another name come in the lineup for the last week and the first round of the playoffs, barring maybe a switch at like right back or left back. I think everything's pretty set right now.
This is our starting lineup. I feel like this is. It's weird to say that, with 1 game left of the regular season, but like I'm pretty sure we found our starting lineup. It's kind of what it feels like. I mean, this has been kind of what we expected. It was a little bit surprising to see no Dane Kelly even on the bench, if I remember right. So that was kind of weird.
I think it's at least for the second game in a row, if not more. I remember that was the case for last week as well.
Yeah. So it's a situation there where I'm wondering, like, are we talking like injury at this point, or like Bob just completely given up on Dane Kelly, which sucks. Yeah, I'm about ready to go forward again in the game when I know we're not supposed to do that. So I'm not going to. Just talking about the subs at the end, because that's usually when we would see a Dane Kelly come on. But yeah, so yeah, this is our starting lineup. This is what we'll probably have tomorrow or next week, and going into the playoffs.
Yeah. Going into Sacramento's penalty.
Soft.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to set you up for that, but yeah,
it is a situation where I get why they got the PK. Like, I'm not saying there was nothing there at all, but it was definitely like a setup job. You know what I mean? Like he got in front of Peters, right? In front of Peters and just kind of stopped. And it's like, oh, you're going to run into me. Oh, you ran into me. So it didn't feel like he was going for the ball. It didn't feel like, the defender wasn't going for the ball. No, I got that the wrong way. You know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, they're attacker. Yeah,
they're
Sacramento's attacker. Yeah.
I forget who actually drew the penalty. But
me too.
Yeah, it was a good setup, and they did what they had to do to,
Well, and the camera angle was great too, because it gives you that perspective, of Peter's right behind, and I was looking like, okay, did he clip his heel? Did he clip his? And he didn't. It's just he felt the pressure on his back, and he goes down. Jamali Waite picks the wrong way, and they slot it. I guess staying on this for a second, I guess you could say the only goal we let up being a soft penalty. If you want to, you can stretch this to say, we're picking up. That's an improvement. They didn't score against us in open play. Sacramento, okay, they're not at the top of the Western Conference, but they also made a deep run in the Open Cup, and they have Vitiella, blah blah blah. So to hold them to 1 goal after a soft penalty, are you buying that this is maybe somewhat of an improvement? Do you think this was overall a better defensive performance?
I mean, there was also that offside goal that they got that was pretty close. I don't think that was I'm not saying that should have been a goal. They got robbed by not getting that goal, but it definitely wasn't a situation where it could have easily gone the other way. It just a little bit offside. I don't know. I didn't feel confident after that first goal that they scored, even though we came back and got another goal, until the last 15 minutes, 10 minutes of the game, where it really felt like we were, on the attack and really trying everything to get another one. I didn't feel good about this game personally. Did you come out of this game feeling like, we're on the upswing? Is that how you felt?
No, but this didn't feel like slipping down the ladder further to me.
That's fair.
and I mean, it's, we've struggled in away games all season. And I think we did a decent job against a decent Western Conference team. I don't know.
Talking about me, probably. My team's all let me down. I think Everton lost 2-1. Crew lost 2-1, and then Hounds drew at least. Yeah, it wasn't a great week.
But I mean, I didn't feel better after this, but I didn't necessarily feel worse. What did make me feel better is the broader context of the standings in the Eastern Conference and seeing we still have a shot. But let's going on to the goal, Kenny Forbes, Shane Wheat getting the assisting the assist king, in an assist that I thought was pretty smooth. Splits the defense, kind of takes 2 or 3 Sacramento players out of the game. And I thought the finish by Forbes was really good. He makes it look super easy, just chips the keeper nice and easy. And, I guess, I don't know. I was going to say it's not easy to do that against Vitiello. It's weird to say Vitiello, being one of our former keepers, got the Golden Glove when he was here with us. In spite of all of that, I still imagine there's probably some Hounds fans that don't rate him entirely highly, maybe me being one of them. But anyway, I thought the goal was great, and I thought, it by no means was it a keeper mistake. It was just a really good finish by one of our better players.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Forbes was calm, collected, and was able to just wait until Vitiello came out for that ball and then just kind of chip it over him, and that was what he needed to do. I look at the replays, you can see Mertz almost like thinks about going for it. He's like, "Oh, I can." Oh, wait, no, Forbes is right there. Okay, I'll let the ball roll past me and let Forbes take it, which, I mean, turned out great. But yeah.
Well, that's 2 goals for Kenny and 10 assists on the season, I think.
I think that's right.
So, he's now. I mean, he's already been on the board with goals, but 10 goals, 2 assists for the all-time assist leader. It's not a terrible return, in spite of, I think, I'll speak for myself. I don't think he's had the greatest season, especially of late. I think he's gone missing in important moments. So it's good to see him kind of get this goal and be on the end of a couple chances. I think he had another chance in the first half, where Dikwa squared it and he almost got in front of his defender, and the defender just kind of knocked it wide or something. But yeah, the game continues on, and getting to the 90th minute, Sacramento puts a ball over top. Ordonez is following his player and just takes his ankles out and gets a red card. Clarification, Josh, correct me if I'm wrong, but this was a 2 yellow card equaling a red card, not a straight red card. And because of that, he only misses the next game and not the 2 next games. So
this is confusing. I think you're right, but he was already going to miss the next game from yellow card accumulation when he got the first yellow card. So how's that work?
That's genius. That's what that.
Yeah, like, I guess maybe that makes sense. Get the second yellow at the very end of the game, then you're only missing 1 game still.
I don't know how it works. I mean, I would assume that, it's they don't stack.
I would hope not. That seems harsh, but yeah. So he got a foul earlier in the 74th minute. Just a bad foul as well. And then this one felt more like a tactical foul. Like, this one actually felt like probably was a good idea to do. It was funny. If you watch the replay, you can actually see both the attackers fall almost exactly the same time. And the other one, I think it was Peters, was blocking the other one. And like, Peters wasn't even close to him. And he was also on a yellow. So it was a situation where I think Peters got a yellow earlier, right?
Peters,
Williams.
No, Williams got the yellow. Yeah.
But But yeah, it was just funny to see like both of them fall. One of them was obviously he just fell. Like it wasn't even like there's no one around you. But since Ordonez actually had fouled him, they kind of ignored that one. Does he make those 2 fouls if he didn't dye his hair the Eminem shade?
I was gonna say, you know what? Usually I don't like the Eminem shade, but I'm kind of digging it for Ordonez. And the other reason is he doesn't go like the tips, right? Like I feel like lately, maybe it's just everyone who did bleach blonde dye their hair, like it's now growing out and it looks like they just dyed the tips or whatever. But he just went full, dark beard, blonde hair. I respect it.
That's fine, I guess.
So I don't want to linger too much longer on this game because why would you? We're sprinting towards the end of the season. I kind of want to talk about the broader situation of the last game of the season for a lot of the teams in the Eastern Conference and what it means for our playoff picture, our playoff, hopes, our home playoff hopes. So let's kind of go over that. So right now, with a game left, Detroit and Birmingham both above us, but are within 2 points, or Birmingham is within 2 points. We're level on points with Detroit. Birmingham have Indy midweek. I want to say they're home. I think they're home. And Detroit, they have Miami at home on the weekend. So, Josh, I don't even want to ask you this question because, I know, I can get, but I'm shocked we're in this position. I've probably 3 weeks ago, I wrote off the hope of having a home playoff game. Were you kind of in the same mentality, or I don't know? How did you see our kind of playoff chances kind of evolve over the past couple of weeks?
I mean, I would say we are extremely lucky that everyone else around us is fumbling as well. Because this is a situation where we pulled ourselves up and we're scraping by and we're doing a great job. It's like, no, we're also fumbling, but so is everyone else around us. So it's kind of making everything into a stalemate where nothing's really changing in the table. No one's running away with anything. It's like people just can't get points right now, around us at least. So we are extremely lucky that Detroit has been underperformed, or I don't know if you can say underperforming. Yeah. They've been not performing the last couple games, and Birmingham did not do that great either. Detroit did get a win the week before, but other than that, they had 2 draws and a loss. And then Birmingham has had 2 losses and a draw. So it's definitely, we've been lucky. If with all that in mind, everyone has 1 game left. So if Birmingham draws or loses, we have a chance. But that's only if Detroit also loses. Because if Detroit gets 3 points, we need to get 3 points. So basically, whatever Detroit, although I think Detroit already played their game. No, they're not. They still have their game.
Yeah, they have their game on the weekend.
Yeah. So same situation, essentially. We have to hope that they don't get any points, or if they do get points, we get the same amount of points as them because we beat them in the tiebreaker.
Right.
And then we need to either equal up or surpass Birmingham because we also will beat them in the tiebreaker. So
right.
That's good.
Yeah. I'm now realizing I misspoke before. I think I said Detroit was above us, but yeah, we're level on points. And Josh, yeah, as you mentioned, we have them in the tiebreaker. So the question becomes, I mean, you don't want your fate of your home playoff game in the hands of Birmingham, but they're playing Indy. They're home against Indy. No, that's not true. I was going to, they played Indy, like 4 weeks ago or something, and lost to Indy 4-3. That was the dramatic game. I think Indy was like up 3-0 or 3-1. And then Birmingham came back and tied it up, and then Indy went back ahead. I remember it because the commentators were like giving regular updates during the Hounds game. I forget what Hounds game it was, but I was like, can you guys just talk about the Hounds game, please? So I don't know. I mean, I rarely check Twitter, but Josh, I think you put it out. You have the right mentality. Don't hope for Indy. Don't hope that Indy win. Hope that Birmingham lose. And I think that's probably the right mentality to have.
It's easier to stomach the whole situation if you think of it that way. I never want to hope that Indy wins anything. So yeah, just hoping Birmingham loses felt right. In it. So even if we don't get a home playoff game, which would suck, that's the goal. We want a home playoff game. We really don't want to fall to sixth place. We kind of want fifth is kind of important because right now, if we fall to sixth place, we play. Well, it could be Memphis or it could be the Rowdies. I don't want to play the Rowdies. Like the Rowdies right now are doing pretty good. I would rather not play them.
And what? Right now, Memphis is ahead of them in the table.
Yes. But I think that can still switch because I don't.
Yeah.
Here's the thing that sucks now. We can't just look at the table and tell with points and with goal differentials and all that stuff. You have to actually go into every team's roster, not
really
roster,
annoying.
but there's no way for me to tell right off the bat, okay, if they even up on points, Memphis and Tampa, who has the tiebreaker, and then if they have the same amount of points against each other, who has the most points against in conference teams, who has the better record within in conference teams. It's annoying. It really is. And don't look at Google, by the way. Google is still showing you the way every other league does the tiebreakers. So if you look at the table on Google, it's completely different than the table on USL's site. So
well, that's why I misspoke before. I was like, oh yeah, Detroit are ahead of us, and
no they're not. They are not with the rules of USL. So yeah, you have to go to the USL site to see what the actual table looks like. But yeah, Tampa just beat Loudoun 8-0, I think. The last game they played.
No mercy.
No, that was yeah. So I don't want to play Tampa.
Yeah, I mean, Tampa has the most goals scored in the Eastern Conference so far, and they still have a game in hand against the likes of Louisville and Memphis. When you beat Loudoun 8-0, that helps. But okay, so seventh place, if the top three stay the way they are now, Louisville is already locked up first. Memphis is in second. Tampa's in third. Tampa still has a chance to get to second place. But let's say Memphis stays in second. Tampa stays in third. Louisville gets a bye in the first round.
Yeah.
And then we look at how everything kind of shakes out below that. So let's put it this way. If the table stays the way it is now, then we have an away game against Birmingham.
Yes, which is pretty good. I feel like if things suck and we have to have away games against Birmingham, that's a good opponent to have against.
Right. If things change, I don't even know. I mean, I'm sure it's. Yeah, no, it's totally possible for us to have a home game against Detroit. It's possible for us to have a home game against Birmingham.
Yeah,
for sure.
Birmingham would be our other.
Yeah. So how are you feeling about? I would, obviously it's less likely we're getting a home playoff game. Most likely we're playing Detroit or Birmingham. Possibility of playing either Tampa or Memphis, but that's pretty low.
Can we also play Miami? Because Miami is at 52 points. Detroit's at 54 points. So if Miami wins, they would be in sixth place, which means if we got into oh wait, no.
Well, no, because Birmingham, I don't know how the tiebreaker would work out with Birmingham. So Miami might have a tiebreaker on Birmingham, in which case they can go from 7th to 5th. Yeah, it's all I can't remember the last time the Eastern Conference was this crazy with one game left. Yeah. But yeah, I like how Mike created an agenda. And I think, now that I'm looking at it, kind of wrote out a lot of these possible playoff combinations. Just completely ignored it, and I'm trying to, do it on the fly. Yeah, thanks.
Got to do your own math. You got to check everything. You just want to make sure. That's all.
Exactly. But yeah, so Detroit plays Miami on Saturday. I'm gonna actually read Mike's agenda here. If the lowest the Hounds can go is 6th. In which case that's the scenario where we might play either Tampa or Memphis away from home. If the Hounds lose and Miami wins, we'll be tied with Detroit on points, and the tiebreaker head-to-head points regular season. I need to stop reading this because I think we've already talked about that. So let's move on to the final game of the season. Hounds get Oakland at home on Saturday. Oakland are battling to stay in the playoffs, and in the past 2 weeks, they beat Birmingham 2-1 and Hartford 3-1. Short of knowing that their logo and uniforms are really cool, I don't know too much about them. Josh, we'll know the fate of Birmingham before this game. How do you think this? We've been pretty solid at home over the entire stretch of the season. I think we've still. I should know this now. I was going to say I think we still have only lost one game at home this season.
That feels wrong, but you could be right.
There might be a second loss in there.
Our home record is 8-3-5. So 3 losses.
Way wrong.
Yeah.
Man.
So it's really weird with in the stand. If you look at the Western standings, the Roots, the bottom 3 teams in the playoffs, all have the same amount of points right now. So there's 2 teams outside the playoffs that can still jump up into the playoffs. So it's a situation where they have something to play for. They have a lot to play for. They can't get a home playoff game. So that's not on the table for them. But if they don't get points, it's very possible they get knocked out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Because, there's 2 teams that can get into the playoffs. And if the other teams that are already in there get points and they don't, then they're at the bottom of the playoff and only one team has to be able to knock them out. So it is a complicated situation where I think they're going to be coming at us with everything they have, because it could mean they don't get the playoffs at all. So that's not fun. I was hoping they were kind of like, oh, we don't have as much going on, and
See, but I think you can talk yourself into any scenario in this point. I think any time where it's an end of the season game where something's on the line, I've heard arguments for every scenario. I've heard arguments where the team that has nothing to play for comes in with no pressure. They play freely, and they put up a great result. I've heard things where you hear the whole spectrum of things. So I think the other thing to know, I wouldn't really want to, for our last regular season game, I wouldn't really want to play bottom feeders either. You want some kind of tempo, you want some kind of game that allows you to build a little momentum, because God, we need it. I think this is going to be a kind of a nice game. This is a Western Conference team that will, just by its nature, kind of throw us off our, I don't know, regularity of seeing, we see all these Eastern Conference teams obviously more regularly than we do with Western Conference teams. So it'll feel slightly different in that way. Maybe that kind of preps us a little bit for a playoff game. I think this is going to be a good game for us. We'll be playing it without Ordonez. I don't know if that'll be too big of an issue. I think we have we don't have a lot of depth. I mean, I think we've been talking of late. That feels like that's been one of our biggest weaknesses so far this season, is a lack of depth. It does feel like positionally the place where we have the most depth, arguably, is at center back. It feels like Williams, Peters, Ordonez, and Wheat could all play center back. Granted, Wheat has been playing a little bit more right back of late, and but so we have options there. I'm not too worried about that, and then we can kind of rotate around it. I don't like asking for predictions in this game, so I'll just kind of, allow you to add anything else you're thinking about on the Oakland game.
I mean, another concern is the fact that they haven't lost a game in 5 games. We haven't won a game in 5 games. That's not fun to think about. But I don't think this is like a team that is super great coming into Highmark. So it's not like this game is like impossible or even close to being like, we're the extreme underdogs or anything like that. I don't think we're the underdogs in this game at all. Yeah, no, it's not going to be an easy game though. It's not going to be a cakewalk. Maybe that's a good thing because every time I think there's a cakewalk game, the Hounds don't show up. So maybe it's a good thing that this is going to be a competitive team, that they actually have to have their head on a swivel and not just roll in there thinking they own the place.
I'm looking at their Eastern Conference games in the past month and a half, 2 months. So as already mentioned, they beat Hartford, where they had to play Hartford away. They beat Birmingham, but they are home, and they beat them 2-1. They beat the Red Bulls at home, but only 1-0. Given how the Red Bull season ended up, that's, paint your own kind of picture there. And then they draw with Detroit in Detroit earlier in the season. So, I mean, they've put up a pretty good showing against middling Eastern Conference teams, if you want to call, Birmingham middling, Birmingham and Detroit, which you probably don't. They're on the cusp of getting a home playoff game. So, but we'll see how this kind of shakes out. I'm still hopeful. I don't know. I don't know. I don't think we were as bad as our record has been in the past month. I know it's a weird thing to say, but I still think we revert to the mean here soon. And I'm optimistic about this. I don't know. My feeling is my worry is I think we're going to put out a good showing and it's not going to matter.
Yeah, that would suck. I mean, at least we know that if we win, we are for sure in 4th place. There's nothing that can happen where if we win this game, we don't get 4th.
Wait, is that true?
Yeah, because we have the tiebreaker on Birmingham. Oh wait, no, Birmingham's 1 point ahead of us. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Yeah. We
womp,
need
womp, womp, womp.
We need the result. Yeah. You gave
rewind,
me
stop play.
so much beautiful, blissful hope for 2 seconds, Josh.
Never mind. I forgot Birmingham had a point on us because in that situation,
so we need Birmingham to not win. If Birmingham draw, great. But and we'll know that scenario on Wednesday. Yeah.
Wednesday. You should actually pay attention on Wednesday.
Yes. Liz says, yeah, but can we get over ourselves and win? I don't really know what that means.
Hounds has been defeating themselves a lot more than the other teams have been defeating us.
There we go.
Especially when you look at the teams we played against and have lost. We had no right losing some of these games that we have.
Our biggest competition is ourselves.
Red Bulls have a negative 51 goal differential.
I know. It's wonderful that you did that because I really wanted to be. I was like, let's just have some fun at the end here and just talk about how bad the Red Bulls are.
That's crazy. I want to know who has the biggest goal differential, like negative goal differential in USL history. It has to be like the Barracudas or something like that back in the day, but there wasn't as many games back then, so maybe not. Maybe if they, really, really sucked.
That's amazing.
Not enough games to actually get that negative that high. That's crazy. Negative 51.
what's crazy too, though? They're not even the first or this like second place team who have given up the most goals. So they've Red Bulls have given up 75 goals so far this season. Atlanta has given up 82, and Charleston has given up 76.
Jeez.
Yet Red Bulls have a goal difference of negative 51.
Compare that to the West. The worst team in the West has negative 12.
That's
It's not even the worst team. That's the worst goal differential is negative 12. The teams in the West are so much more competitive, and that's why there's still playoff spots in contention right now in the West. Yeah. Like 5th through 7th are still up for grabs. So it's crazy to think that it's so different.
I don't know. Yeah. And I mean, we're preaching to the choir here on some extent, but telling that, the Red Bulls are that bad, and there are two teams right behind them in the standings, Atlanta United too.
Loudoun's not too far away behind, and Loudoun's also a 2-team.
Loudoun, LA in the West. Everything's a bit tighter out there, but they're tied for second to last place. So I mean, I don't know, preaching to the choir here, but all right. I guess anything else that you want to talk about, Josh? Big game on Wednesday.
Yeah, show up if you're going to be around town.
To it. Yeah.
Oh, Wednesday game. Yeah, big game on Wednesday, but yeah, fan appreciation on Saturday at Highmark Stadium.
And what does that mean?
I don't really know. I just know it's Fan Appreciation Day. And also that they had a pretty cool sale earlier that everyone missed out on if you're hearing it now, but for like 90 minutes they had supporters section tickets for like $9 or something like that.
Nice.
Yeah, so that was a cool idea. Hopefully people were able to snag those, and yeah, it should be good. I have not looked at the weather on purpose because I'm afraid. I'm hoping it's not crappy out. You are looking at the weather right now, aren't you?
I am.
It's Pittsburgh. If you see what the weather is, it's too far out. It's probably just going to change by the time the game rolls around.
It's true. It's probably going to change.
You should probably look like closer to like a day before, and you might get a good idea.
Right now, it looks near perfect.
Nice.
So I'll just leave it at that. It looks near perfect. I mean, yeah, last home game of the season, potentially last home game of the regular season. I imagine you guys are doing your normal tailgate and stuff. Get down to the stadium early if you have tickets. This is a really big game, and hopefully Highmark's packed and the results bounce right for us on Wednesday. I imagine if they do, Highmark is going to be nuts, and I hope that's the case. But even still, if we're going into the weekend knowing that a home playoff game is out of reach, there's still stuff to play for. We want to finish above Detroit and kind of ensure that. So, yeah, big last game of the season, and I guess even in the context of how crappy an end of the season this has been, it's nice to have, the last game of the season matter for something, and last game of the season matters for something. So, and we're going to the playoffs.
So, and we're in the playoffs. Let's not forget, no matter what, we're in the playoffs. So there's still another game after Saturday to look forward to.
Yeah. All right. So let's wrap this up. Remember that you can be part of the conversation. Head over to twitter.com/Mongols and click the link in our profile to join our Twitter circle. Man, this feels weird reading this. I was like, I'm reading. Okay. For $1 a month, you'll get loads of additional content from us and help us cover some of our expenses. Weekly reminder that Black Lives Matter. We're proudly part of the Beautiful Game Network, which is home to more than 100 volunteer writers and podcasters covering local soccer. Help us all keep doing what we're doing. Head over to bgm.fm and click on the donate button to help cover our expenses. Thank you for your support. I joke and I kind of josh, but like everything that's happening in the Beautiful Game Network is pretty cool. Genuinely, it's impressive to see everyone out there kind of putting out, content and creating little communities around, and sometimes big communities around and their local teams. That's it. That finishes us off. Thanks, everybody. We'll probably have Mike back next week. That's good for you. It's even better for me. Thanks, everybody.
I asked if you wanted to host this. I didn't say you had to. I just said, who's hosting today? In the hopes that you would say you would host. But I did not say you had to host.
And you're right. You're right. You gave me an out. I didn't take it. But now that you're on air, you have to take the next one, Josh.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll talk to you very, very soon.
Cheers. Later. You can't say both.